Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is the king. He's the only thing that matters. Obviously, Christ is king. Because I have just felt this is the Christ is king year, and Christ is truth, the way. Christian first, okay? We're leaning towards Christ. You know, we're finding our faith. We're leaning into Christ. Well, I think a lot of people have felt this is the Christ is king year. And I know that right now Christ is with us. Christ is king, and the truth is powerful enough. We are creating a network of people that know that Christ is king and that the truth wins in the end. And we just have to keep going. All right, guys, happy Monday from London. And it is a happy Monday indeed because I won. I didn't expect it. I played it cool, but it's recently now been announced that it is me. I am the anti-Semite of the year. Yeah. I was named by the watchdog group appropriately named Stop Anti-Semitism. I was named by the watchdog group appropriately named Stop Anti-Semitism. The media, in my view, is a bit satanic. I genuinely believe this. It is so in our faces, and yet we don't learn about this. So you may have heard of a man named Aleister Crowley. If you haven't, I'll provide you with some brief spark notes. Aleister Crowley was an Englishman. He was also a drug abuser. He was a bisexual who is credited with heavily influencing the eventual counterculture revolution of the 60s in America. Free love, free love. Yeah, that book, Chaos. Things got weird and satanic in the 60s in America. And America is where this Englishman, Aleister Crowley, eventually moved. But what he is most famous for is black magic. He was an occultist who pledged his allegiance to demons. He believed that he could summon demons, okay? Okay, the story goes that when he was 13 years old, he read the book of Revelation in the Bible, and he became inspired, not by Jesus Christ, but by the seven-headed beast that is ridden by the whore of Babylon. So in case you are somebody that's not familiar with the Bible and Revelations, they talk about this seven-headed beast that rules over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. Okay? So it's satanic. It's a satanic beast. When Alistair got older, he started a religious cult, a satanic cult known as the Lima.
Aleister Crowley claimed himself to have become a Freemason in Mexico back in the beginning of the 19th century. This is important, as Masonry claims to not be associated with satanic beliefs, but Crowley called himself the Beast 666. Aleister Crowley is one of the most important names when it comes to the occult world. Many modern occultists praise Crowley and follow his writings to this very day. Crowley was indeed a Mason.
Believe facts, okay? Believe facts. Discuss Freemasonry because there are so many different elements, cultural elements of this, which I think a lot of Americans have the wrong idea. Either they don't think Freemasonry is real, or they don't believe that Freemasonry is relevant, or they believe that Freemasonry is innocent. And I'm going to speak about all of those things. So first and foremost, what is Freemasonry? Full stop. Okay. So during the late Middle Ages, the world was united under the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Okay, so if you had any opposition to the church throughout Europe, you were forced to go underground. Right, we were a Christian society. And among the only organized groups that were able to move freely throughout Europe were these guilds of stonemasons. And they would then be, therefore, because they could move freely, hence Freemasons, they were able to maintain meeting halls or lodges in virtually every major city. And the Masons were essentially very talented at architecture, and they had a bunch of secret knowledge, sometimes secret knowledge of architecture and of other topics. And that knowledge was dated back to the times of Egypt, right? And it was essential maintaining this knowledge in the construction of European churches and cathedrals. So one of the things that is well known is that Freemasons were in opposition to the church, right? They wanted to crush the church, which is why it is not ironic that the person who founded the Mormon church, as just one example, many of the churches, the very many Protestant faiths that we have, was Joseph Smith, and he was a Freemason. That's a fact, just as one example. What is Freemasonry? Full stop. Okay. So during the late Middle Ages, the world was united under the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Okay. So if you had any opposition to the church throughout Europe, you were forced to go underground, right? We were a Christian society. And among the only organized groups that were able to move freely throughout Europe were these guilds of stonemasons. And they would then be, therefore, because they could move freely, hence free masons, they were able to maintain meeting halls or lodges in virtually every major city. And the masons were essentially very talented at architecture, and they had a bunch of secret knowledge, sometimes secret knowledge of architecture and of other topics. And that knowledge was dated back to the times of Egypt, right?
In the Masonic quiz book, the question is asked, who was Nimrod? The answer is, he was the son of Cush, in the old constitutions referred to as one of the founders of Masonry. I thought he was a warrior before the Lord, against the Lord. And the confusions of tongues gave rise to the ancient practice of Masons conversing without the use of speech. So if you're going to confuse us with languages, we'll use symbols. So symbolism is a Masonic language.
We are creating a network of people that know that Christ is king and that the truth wins in the end. And it was essential maintaining this knowledge in the construction of European churches and cathedrals. So one of the things that is well known is that Freemasons were in opposition to the church, right? They wanted to crush the church, which is why it is not ironic that the person who founded the Mormon church, as just one example, many of the churches, the very many Protestant faiths that we have, was Joseph Smith, and he was a Freemason. That's a fact, just as one example.
You know, the Jesuits created who? Freemasonry to do the work. If something, they banned Freemasonry, and if something happens, they say, oh, it wasn't us, it was the Freemasons. Isn't that right? Or they blame the Jews. No, it's not us who rule the world, it's the Jews, it's them, it's Zionism. But in actual fact, it's Catholicism.
Now, you may know some people that are Freemasons and you're going, well, I know this person and he goes to a lodge and he's completely harmless. Yes, it is a known thing that 97% of Freemasons are not in the top tier degree of Freemasonry. And it is understood that at the top tier degree of Freemasonry, you essentially become one of the makers of the world. Now, I remember, and I've spoken about this on this podcast, but one of the things that kind of ripped me into a new reality last year when I was studying with some priests was they sort of looked at me. I was in London at the time, and they just said to me in the kindest way possible, you Americans don't know anything about real history. You know nothing about your own country. You don't even know that your country was established by Freemasons, right? And it's interesting, of course, that I'm referring to Catholic priests. I believe a lot of the reasons why people hate Catholicism or hate Catholics is because Catholics know history. They have been recording history for a long time. So if you're a Freemason and you're working to rewrite history, or you're telling people that America was established because of this or because of that, and you completely remove the aspects of Freemasonry from our textbooks as they have, then yeah, you are going to be at conflict with the Catholic Church, who remembers everything and keeps, very good records of history.
The Jesuit order created all the school systems, which eventually became the school systems of the entire world.
So for those of you guys who've never even heard of that, and like I said, I would have been among you. I'm very new to relearning American history through the lens of Freemasonry. Some known Freemasons: George Washington was a Freemason. Thomas Jefferson was a Freemason. Benjamin Franklin was a Freemason. Buzz Aldrin was a Freemason. Don't get me started. For those of you that have been listening to this podcast for a long time, you already know where I'm at when it comes to NASA and the weird satanic chants that they were doing to establish the Apollo program. And all of the weird stuff that happened leading up to the moon landing. So I freaked out when I learned Buzz Aldrin was a Freemason. It's not helping my case in believing those moon landings. I'll tell you that for free. Franklin Roosevelt was another Freemason. Sigmund Freud, that got me into a lot of trouble this year because I started speaking about Sigmund Freud. He's a member of B'nai B'rith, and I was telling you, like, this guy who keeps writing about child sex. Yeah, there are some things you should know about him. He was a Freemason. But I hold the most contempt for those that hold up the Bible as they criticize people, knowing fully well that they could care less about what's in the Bible and they just want to take swipes and attack somebody and feel justified in doing it. It's so arrogant. And I think it's also tremendously evil because there are people that follow you and they are true Christians.
The secret religion, which should shock you when it's announced. These same lost or deceptive Masons also love to repeat, like parrots, that Freemasonry is not a religion. Well, what does the Freemason of the century have to say about that? From this book, he writes, Masonry is essentially a religious order. Not just a little bit religious, but essential. And here, the iconic giant of Freemasonry says in Morals and Dogma, every Masonic lodge is a temple of religion, and its teachings are instructions in religion. So please, sit down, Masons, because Freemasonry is a religion. What is Freemasonry? What is the most secret yet most powerful religion in the world? Well, that's easy. We live in an evil, evil world. So there's only one religion that befits it. Freemasonry is Satanism in disguise. Now start the clock. From Morals and Dogma, prepared for the Supreme Council for 33rd degree. That's the highest degree in Freemasonry, and written by the undisputed heavyweight champion of modern Freemasonry, Albert Pike. On page 321, he boldly states, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, son of the morning, is it he who bears the light? Doubt it not. Did you hear that? Lucifer is God, and do not doubt it. Come on now, stay with me. Here from the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, written by 33rd degree Freemason, a beloved member of the craft, Albert Mackey. He tells us whose name represents the good principle in Freemasonry's secret worldview. Writing under the Masonic meaning of the word pentagram, he says that the pentagram, depending on its position, represents good or evil. See how he puts the positive aspect in the first position? Good first, evil second. Good or evil, light or darkness, victory or death, initiation or profanation, Lucifer or Vesper. Lucifer is good. Lucifer is light. Lucifer is victory. And Lucifer is true initiation. See, if you're not initiated, you're profane. If you haven't figured out that God is Lucifer, You're vulgar and profane. You're stupid, in their own words. That's the beginning of their big secret. God is the devil.
This is the Church of Satan at San Francisco, where Anton LaVey, the high priest, says, "Live is evil spelt backwards." He therefore reverses everything in the Gospels. Hate your enemies, he says, and if someone smites you, smash him.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
Love the details. You know, I love details. I'm a detail-oriented person, and these ones are fun and curious, okay?
Now from the Freemason of the Century, Manly Hall. And this will make it 3 out of 3 legends of Freemasonry stating the same thing. In The Lost Keys of Freemasonry on page 76, when the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething, surging energies of Lucifer are in his hands. Do you see? The world's hidden religion, with its universal one-eye symbolism, who was revealed slowly and by degrees only to its dedicated members, is Satanism, or Luciferianism as they prefer to call it.
I have nothing to hide. I am not the person who's playing any games right now. So if you're going to call me out, go all the way, okay? Go max on calling me out, because if I'm a fraud, the public sure as hell deserves to know it. I am just very passionate now about using my platform to awaken Christians around the world, because I believe that when Christians are awakened, a lot of the evils in the world will stop. Crowley believed that the number of the beast 666 was significant. This has always been about good versus evil. Point that I'd like to make is the stunning hypocrisy again and again. He believed that humanity was entering in a new eon, and that his religious motto, which was "do what thou wilt," would rule it, right? He believed that actually he could create this beast and rule over nations by practicing rituals He routinely practiced sex rituals. He believed in masochistic and sadistic sex, believed in free love, and he was very much connected to the elite in America. He was just openly publishing articles for Vanity Fair because he was best friends with their editor, and many of the elite in our society were his followers and believers. A Satanist. This is a fact. You can look this up.
The History of Freemasonry, written by Masonic scholar Albert Mackey and published by the Masonic History Company, honors Nimrod as a great Mason. Mackey argues that Nimrod deserves the distinction of being called the first Grand Master.
Again, there is no left or right. It's just the elites. It's the media apparatus that protects those elites, and then the rest of us who are supposed to be slaves, okay? The elites own everything. They own everyone. I keep telling you guys, I am not governable. We don't live in a meritocracy. It's not a free nation. They have to be able to control you. A study that I showed, like a study that was done by the CIA, an experiment rather, to my audience was where they sat a bunch of people in a room. This is a true CIA experiment. And 17 of them were agents, and one of them was from the public, but he didn't know that he was the only person that wasn't an agent. Yep. And they held up a picture of a triangle, and they went around the room, and they said, "What do you see?" And every agent, went through them first, and they said, "Square, square, 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 square." It was clearly a triangle. Square, 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 square. They get to that last guy, and he says, "Square." Knowing fully that he is seeing a triangle. Yep. So what they understand is that peer pressure, like the psychology of peer pressure, is a real thing. But it's stunning to me that grown men succumb to this, or something that's unbelievably wrong about that.
Yeah,